Hello, I'm just that guy, and if you've ever tried anything new, then you probably know about the learning process. Now, what is the learning process? It's basically figuring your shit out. So, how I would divide the learning process is into two different parts. One, you can learn about something, and then two, you can learn how to do something. As an example of this, let's take making bread. Now, to learn about making bread, you can always go into a recipe site or maybe watch some videos, some tutorials on how to make bread, or even go into the history of what bread is. And these are all great steps. You get a lot of information about what ingredients you use, how they combine, how they all mix together and form the magic that is bread. But with this, you're not actually learning how to make bread. And the process of learning how to make bread involves you simply taking what you might have learned from learning about making bread and applying it into how you're going to do it, where you get all of the ingredients together, you get your hands, and you you really go at it until your failure of a bread maybe is made. And that failure is fine because it's an attempt. And really, that's the important part because the big thing about the learning process isn't about succeeding on the first try or knowing everything there is to know about doing something. It's simply trying and acting on your desires to do something new and keep putting in repetitions over and over again until you have a product that you are satisfied with. And the hardest part about the learning process is those first attempts because you're not going to be making anything, any golden standard, any new revelations in whatever action you're performing, like making bread. Your first attempt might be a little bland, it might be tough, it might be too soft or gooey, whatever you could mess up with bread. I don't know. I don't know how to make bread. I've never tried. But just simply making that attempt and then maybe the next day or the next weekend you go and you try again and you see if there's any improvements. And if there's not on the first try, then that's okay. So long as you keep putting in effort. Eventually, with enough attempts, you will figure out what you are doing wrong and how you can improve on it. And this learning process is something that I myself am trying to get accustomed to because with all of this uh video making stuff is something that's very new to me and very is very much something that takes effort. And effort is kind of the bane of all humans. We really try and do things that are easy. That's why stuff like watching TV or eating fast food is very appealing because it's a very easy instant process that doesn't require a lot of effort to get what you want. However, for me, this YouTube stuff, it currently does take a lot of effort because I haven't put in enough attempts in it. And yes, my videos are probably not very good with all sorts of different like bad audio, bad visuals, bad commentary, bad editing, all sorts of different problems. But I am okay with that right now because I'm simply trying to perform the action of making videos. And I'm focusing solely on trying to turn it into a habit. And what is a habit? A habit is essentially something an action that you can perform that will gratify one of your desires without very much effort. That's why, let's say, when you wake up in the morning, you go downstairs and you eat breakfast. Why do you eat breakfast? It's not actually because you want to eat necessarily, it's that you don't want to feel hungry anymore. So, habits are an action that always will lead to a reward. So, how do you make a habit? How do you stick with it until it becomes a habit? Because habits take time to perform or to make and turn into a habit. And there's the saying that it takes about 30 days to make a habit, but that's not necessarily true. Let's say let's say you're uh, let's say you're trying to learn how to unicycle. So, you're trying to learn how to ride a unicycle. Well, every single time you go out and you get on your unicycle, it's going to take some mental power or some motivation to get yourself outside, get on the unicycle, and start pedaling. And you're going to fall, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to suck, and you're not going to do well. And those are all demotivators. Those are all going to try and put little seeds of doubt in your brain to maybe just stop. But with learning this unicycle, it could take 30 days if you do it every day, or it could take like 6 months if you're only doing it once a week. Then, yeah. And it also doesn't really matter how long you do that task for because you can make a habit out of simply stretching a little bit in the morning. When you first wake up, you get out of bed and you do a little one of these. That took 10 seconds. You could do that for 2 hours and it would be the same thing. But if every day you wake up and you do this for 10 seconds, eventually it's going to become automatic. Just as the same as if you did it for 3 minutes, it would become automatic to do that for 3 minutes. So the real importance that you have to put on habits is frequency, not how long you do it for. The, the, the thing with frequency is how do you stay frequent? How do you sustain that many attempts when, for the unicycle, for example, you fall and you hurt yourself and, oh, suddenly there's a little part of you that doesn't want to go out and do it when you could just do something else that's easier, like watching TV. Well, there are ways around that which involve a bit of a bit of some self-respect in a way. Maybe some some little basically basically the way around this is to mess with your own life in a way that makes watching TV or whatever you don't want to be doing harder while getting on that unicycle becomes easier. Basically, if you want to unicycle more, make it make it obvious. Make it make it very available to you in a very broad sense. If that involves maybe bringing your unicycle inside and then leaving it by the back door on the inside rather than the outside, so that whenever you pass by it in your house, you see it, then that is great. If there's something that else that you could be doing that would be blocking you from getting on that unicycle, like watching TV, you could always take the remote and put it beside your unicycle so that if you really want to watch TV, then you go to next to your unicycle and you see the remote next to it, and then that'll think, hey, maybe I do a bit of unicycling before I get to the TV. That'll basically put a system in your head if you actually stick to it where you don't get to watch TV until you ride your unicycle for a bit. And this is great because then you are putting something that you need to do next to something you want to do. The need to do being unicycling, and the want to do is watching TV. So you don't get what you want to do until something you need to do. Another way to get yourself to unicycle easier, or I mean, unicycle is obviously an example, it could be anything, is to try and create very specific and very easy cues for you to start. So, for example, take me trying to learn how to do videos. It's not an easy process to start recording or start editing because it's not something I'm used to yet. So there's basically friction. There's friction in my life when I'm trying to start recording or start editing. And how how do you remove that friction that just really like racks your brain? Well, for me personally, whenever I right before I start to record or I start to edit, I will simply get on my floor and do 5 push-ups because I like working out and that's a very easy thing for me to do. And then basically when I do 5 push-ups, it puts a little like turns a switch in my mind that says, "Oh, I just did 5 push-ups. It's time to start recording or start editing." So, let's back to the unicycle example. Let's say every time before you unicycle, you like stretch your fingers. Do like a little bit of this. It's something easy that's to do, and it'll feel kind of nice to have stretched fingers, I guess. Maybe that's not the best example, but something like that. So then every time you stretch your fingers, in your mind you'll be, oh, it's time to unicycle. You want to try and set up a system where you're kind of sandwiching a behavior in between stuff to so that rather than it rather than that action being solitary, like just going out and riding your unicycle, it becomes a long string of things that starts with something easy, and in the middle you do what you have to do or what you're trying to do, and then in the end you get to do something rewarding. This basically sets up a system where it eliminates the process of struggling to start, because starting is generally the hardest part for anything. And then you will perform the action. You might be a bit worn out from that, maybe a little like, oh, but then it's great because then you get to go and do something rewarding, something you want to do, so that you can go after fulfilling your action. You go and you watch your TV, and you get to relax, you get to enjoy yourself, and you'll feel good because you actually got to do what you wanted. You actually got to do the action that you're trying to do done today. This basically sets up a little like positive feedback loop to help you grow and keep going on this system. And even then, there will definitely be struggles where it's like, oh, like I stretch my hands, but I still feel kind of like uh about unicycling. Trust me, I'm like that too with recording. I've been trying to record this video in specific for 3 days now, but I've kind of been about it, which is unfortunate for me, but uh basically like that's not the end of the world. If you miss one day, it's not bad. Just go and do it the next day. If you miss 2 days, like I did with this video, then that's when it becomes kind of a problem, because then you start to form the habit of not unicycling or not recording a video. I will say, if you're trying to learn to unicycle, you've been going good, but then you fall off of it, maybe you went on vacation for a bit and you didn't bring your unicycle because it's kind of a weird thing to bring, and then you kind of fell out of it. Just always try and remember to start that system up again and get going on it again. And soon enough, your body should recognize, oh, hey, we're back to doing this. I already know how to do this. And I guess that's what I got. Uh, this is a very tell sign that have, I'm not good about talking about these things, but I'm trying to learn because I like I don't know, I like self-improvement very much and I'd love to share it. And this is all I don't know how well this would go through editing, but I know recording this is the most disorganized, wacky BS video that I've made, but it's a start and I would love to share more about self-improvement stuff with you guys because everyone should really everyone should try and better themselves constantly. I don't I don't like the idea of people ignoring their bodies, staying like doing a lot of unhealthy stuff, and I'm not I don't fault anyone for doing that. I understand. I've been there where I'm just a disgusting, not disgusting, but like I was disgusted with myself and I was feeling down constantly and not really doing anything productive. And it's a real shame that there are people like that. But I believe in not shaming those, but just trying to spread the ways to be more positive and ways to maybe get someone motivated to start and try something. And that's the real thing. Even if you don't know what you're doing, even if you have no idea how to improve your situation, there's nothing worse you can do than just sitting there and accepting it or sitting there and making your situation worse. So I would always say just try anything. It might not help. It might make your situation worse, but just try things to make yourself better. Search a if it helps, you can always look at videos or anything like videos or papers, whatever that that tell you potential ways that help other people often in the past. But I think just trying things and if it works for you, that's great. If not, just make sure that you're aware that it's not helping and drop it because I hate when I see someone just out of it and they don't know what they're doing and they're trying to be a good person but it's just not working or they don't know how to try. So, really just put yourself out there and try things. Try and even if it's something as small as smiling more in the day, which might not be a small thing for some people. Just put yourself to something as small as it may seem or as useless whatever that action might feel to you, as unhelpful it might be. Try it for a bit, and if you feel any sort of improvement, I would say keep sticking with that. So, thank you for listening to this kind of half rambling, super disorganized nonsense. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.